YouTube, what's going on, y'all? Coach Allen in the building. Real quick, I wanted to talk on depression, man. I want to talk about depression, and I want to talk about my experience with depression. I went through a deep depression years ago when I graduated from college, and I came back home to live with my parents for about a year. And going through that depression, my mom tried everything to try to snap me out of it. I was around the house, just really wasn't talking much, down, didn't have much energy, just, out of it, man, really out of it. Walking around in the days almost. And she tried everything she could and she couldn't snap me out of it. And the way I got out of the depression was I wanted to get out. I wanted help. I wanted to get better. So started going to church every Wednesday and every Sunday for about a year. And I was sitting in the back. And I remember one time I was sitting in the back and everyone came around me. They surrounded me and they started praying over me and then they put oil on my head and I started crying. Well, I ended up climbing out of that hole, man. I climbed out of that hole. When you take steps towards God, they say when you take one step towards him, he takes two towards you. And I believe that to be true. When I started applying myself and really going to get the help and doing the inner work, reading more books, spending more time with God, getting him involved in every decision I made. I mean, he was involved. I mean, if it was just me going to get something to eat, I asked God, what did he want me to eat? Or if it was okay for me to go eat certain things. That's how deep I had to get. And that's how deep I am to this day. I try not to make any decision or any move in my life without him. I don't care how big or small. I might want to go to Smoothie King, and I love Smoothie King, and go get a smoothie. Guess who I consult first before I leave the house? Yeah, I do. I ask God, like, yo, what's up? You want to roll out with me? Go get a. Sometimes it's, yeah, let's go. Sometimes he's like, nah, you need to stay home, or you need to do this, or you need to. And that's how I roll, man. I have my own personal relationship with God, right? And you should too. So I just want to tell you, if you or somebody is going through depression, there's really not much you can do to get them out of it. They have to want to get out of it for themselves. I work in mental health. I deal with depression all the time. I've been depressed, so I see people who are depressed and what they're going through, some of my clients and all these things, man. And it's something that is, it goes undiagnosed for years in most of us. And most people think it's just about, depression is one dimensional. Well, I've been depressed before and I know what it's like. And it comes in so many different forms and fashions. You know what I'm saying? So I just want you guys to be mindful of that. Be mindful of what's going on around you, your surroundings, the loved ones that you have, yourself. Because we're in an era right now with everything going on, the pandemic and everything. It's just it's a time, and the enemy is having a field day. He's having a field day on the minds of everybody, man. So your mental health, this camera keeps refocused. Your mental health is so important, man. It's so important, and I urge y'all to really take that into account. Don't get caught up in the world and worldly things either. That leads to depression. All that social media and Instagramming and all that Facebooking, man, looking at other people's lives and comparing your life to theirs and why they got this and why I ain't got. Woo, that's a fast track to depression right there. I'm going to go and tell you, I'm going to keep it 100. I don't be on social media like this. YouTube's about the only social media I do. And then I post it to Facebook, and then I ain't even really on Facebook like that. I be like, oh, I'm straight. I don't really, it's not healthy for me. It's just not. Because it's just a comparison of look at their life and look at my life. And you shouldn't be doing that. That's a trick of the enemy too. Comparing your life to someone else's life is just a trick of the enemy. And another trick of the enemy is finding validation. Finding validation in something other than Jesus Christ, that's a trick of the enemy. So you want to find validation in your career or in your job or whatever, your social status and whatever, going fame, fortune. You want to find validation in that. That's a sin in itself. That's a fast track to depression too. God should be your source. He is your validation. That's all the validation you need. That's all the validation you need. Because guess what? If and when all that stuff fades away or goes away, you're going to be left with nothing. You're going to be left with depression. You're going to be left feeling angry. You're going to be left feeling empty because it's not real. It's a facade. I'm going to tell you a quick story. I play football, and a lot of the athletes that I grew up with and played ball with can attest to this. When I played football for about 20 years of my life, you get used to the praise and the perks and everybody loving how great you are. And, all the girls loving, oh, he played ball and da-da-da-da-da. And you get used to that. After years of that, it's just part of the game, right? It's like, that's what it is. Well, one day when you stop playing, all that ends. It stops. The praise stops. Everybody telling you how great you are stops. Everybody knowing who you are stops. When I tell you it stops instantly. Like your senior year, you in college, for me, it was senior year of college, as soon as I stopped playing ball, done. I was just a regular person. It switched that fast. Now I'm just a regular student. So that contributed to my depression. That's one of the reasons why I went into a deep depression, because now I had to re-identify who I was and find who I was all over again. I had to reinvent myself because I didn't know who I was outside of football. You know what I'm saying? And when that happened, when I went through that deep depression, one of the things that got me through my depression was I started strengthening my relationship with God. And that's when it started, when I started including God in every decision that I made. Even the decision to go back home to Kinston. That was a decision that I made because I prayed on it and I asked God what he wanted me to do. I didn't have to go. I had money and I could go get an apartment till I found a job and and I would have been fine. But I prayed and I asked God what he wanted me to do. He told me to go back home. And I went back home. And it was rough. It was rough, man. It was like a year. But I look back on that situation now, you know what? I wouldn't trade it for the world because it prepared me for my now and what I got to go through now, man. You know what I'm saying? So God will lead you. But just because he's leading you and just because it's hard or it doesn't feel good or it's challenging doesn't mean he's not with you. Doesn't mean this is not what he wants for you. But, God has to prune us. He has to discipline us. We have to go through things so he can get the glory out of our lives. So why you think I'm up here talking about God? He going to get the glory out of my life. He going to get it all day because it ain't nothing about me that special. I don't care what you say. I ain't that talented. I ain't that this. I ain't that. I'm not. It's God, man. Anything I pursued and I got from him. Any talents and gifts I got from him. You know what I'm saying? You think I'm so great or I'm so this? It's just him, man. It ain't got nothing to do with me because I can't do anything without him. I promise you that. My drive and determination and motivation to play football for 20 years and work out day in and day out, eat, sleep, and breathe that, it wasn't me. It wasn't like, I just had this gut-wrenching desire out of nowhere to do it. It wasn't me. It was God, because I know it was God, because when football ended, that desire went away. It went away. But you know what happened? And God taught me about your lesson. What happened was, somewhere along the way, I put my value into the football. I put my value into the accolades and the praises, and I kind of lost sight of God. I mean, I didn't, but I did. I lost sight of him. He was still there. I was still going to church, but I lost sight of him. And it all went away. And when it all went away, guess who I had to turn back to? God. And guess who was still there waiting on me? God. And then it was like, okay, you ready now? I was like, oh, yeah, I'm ready. It's over. He's like, yeah, it's over. I'm still here, though. They gone. But I'm still here. You ready? And I'm like, yeah. And you find out who's really in your, who's real. And I had some real ones with me now. I don't get it twisted. I had some real people in my corner that I talked to that were there for me and whatnot. But a lot of the other, people, no, they disappeared. It was facade. It was fake. It wasn't real, man. It's a persona. It's just like putting on. And you find out when you have to go through something like that, what's real and what's fake. You know what I'm saying? What's going to be there long term and what's just there for a season. You know what I'm saying? And it's easier. Let me say this. It's more difficult to have had something for a long period of time and then lose it and then have to go find something else. That's probably one of the most difficult things you'll ever have to do. If you've never had to do that, it's hard. It's hard. It's very hard. And that's why you see a lot of pro athletes, and I wasn't a pro athlete, but That's why you see a lot of pro athletes, period, they turn to drugs, they turn to alcohol. They're in jail. They start selling drugs. They start doing all types of things, or they just get stuck. We get stuck. I got stuck. You get stuck because you're trying to figure it out, and no one really understands. No one understands what you're going through, right? And it leads to depression, and it leads to a hole, and it leads to what? Emptiness. Pushing people away. I ain't want to be around nobody. I ain't want to be bothered. I'm good. I don't need nobody. It gets to that point. So I just want to keep y'all encouraged, man. If you are going through depression, or somebody who is going through depression, or if you're just feeling stuck, turn back now. If you got something right now and it's bringing you all accolades and this and that, keep your eyes on God the entire time. I know it's kind of difficult with all the flashing lights and how great everything is going, but when he takes it away, and he will, nothing lasts forever. When he takes it away, he's going to be the only thing standing. So go ahead now and fix your eyes back on him, because nothing lasts forever, man. I'm preaching. I'm telling you from my own experience, nothing lasts forever. So keep your eyes on God no matter where you are in your life. If you're in a good place or in a bad place. If you're in a bad place, keep your eyes on God, because nothing lasts forever. If you're in a bad place, good place, keep your eyes on God, because nothing lasts forever. Okay? He's going to be your rock. Whether you're up or you're down, whether they praising you or not, he's going to be the only person there to pick you up and say, come on, I love you, I got you. I know. Let's keep it moving. He did it for me. He'll do it for you. I'm out of here. I love y'all. Stay encouraged. Peace.